from the break. Welcome. This is Solid Jamaz. My name is Lawrence Namali, and we are in some kind of this and that in this episode. We're discussing several aspects of life. Some of them are things that we've already discussed here on these episodes. And today we've just talked about worthiness, deserving, and the fact that we are all at one point in time encumbered by this idea of you're feeling low, you're feeling like you're not qualified, you cannot do it, you don't have it, but yet you still have to do some stuff about it.
You know, if I could add one to the Nike tagline, it would be anyway.
Just do it anyway. Yeah.
Just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And you know what anyway means?
Mm-hmm.
It means anyway. Any way you're gonna do it,
just do it. Yeah.
But you know what? If you don't do, then you won't be.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
That
part of being a human being.
Yeah, it has
it's
to be
about doing.
Human doing.
You get?
Yeah.
And
so the worst you can do as a human being is to do nothing.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a place where Christians normally quote a lot: stand still and know. Do you know stand still and know?
Do you know how much work is in standing still?
Okay, but even if there is that angle of looking at it from that angle, there is also the idea that the moment that command of stand still and know that I am God was issued, it was during a crisis. In other words, in the normal situation, remember, there's a guy, I think you're the one who told us about it. You must have been the one, or maybe someone else I'm remembering. Jesus is preaching, and the roof opens up.
Yeah. The four men who brought in their friend.
Yeah, they brought in their friend. There's this solid Jamaz bringing in another solid Jamaz. What happened to that guy was he was in a crisis at the moment in time, right? And all he could do was to stand still and let his fellow Jamaz take care of him, and they took care of him. And we can even go on a tangent on that. It's a powerful analogy about manhood.
True.
Men taking care of him. But what happened? This guy, he gets healed by Jesus, and then he's told, take up your mat and go. He wasn't even told to stay in the congregation and continue listening. He was told, he was given responsibility after being restored. So that's why I'm saying that standing still at some point in time, it is about when you're in a crisis. But when everything is normal, when you do nothing, you're not becoming. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
When you're doing nothing, that's why the scripture is talking about the lazy person and so on and so forth. So there is an aspect of doing. And what we're talking about in this episode is the doing has got to continue being there. Even when you feel like, I don't deserve this. The more you keep doing, the more the revelation comes up that, hey, wait a minute. Yeah? The more you get some victories under your belt, the more the psychology changes. The more your psychology changes, and the more you firm up the man that you really are. So you're doing yourself a great disservice when you're doing nothing. And that's why this word, I know we're going totally ahead of ourselves even in this series. We'll talk about this in another series. This word joblessness, I really don't like it. But we'll unpack it at some point in time.
Why?
Because
you sometimes feel jobless?
No, you see, when you talk about joblessness, you are bringing in the idea that the guy is doing nothing.
We shall talk about the women who stay at home and the ones that their husbands think do nothing. But continue.
I'm through, by the way. I'm through. But you earlier on you wanted us to talk about dreaming. Dreaming on two angles. First of all, there's the dreaming, because the dreaming again dictates the doing.
Exactly.
Isn't it? The guy who has a bigger dream does much better and maybe does a lot than the guy, or is required, or maybe even compelled to do much more than the guy who is dreamless.
Sometimes the people who are doing end up building a dream.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen someone doing something you only dream about? How does that make you feel?
I mean, you challenge.
And yet for them, it's just a matter of doing.
Yeah.
I saw someone post on your Facebook in response to your feeling about being, underappreciated as a creator and a creative. And this person said, I want to do what you do, but I don't know how.
I saw that comment.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
So for you just doing.
Yeah.
It's the other person's dream.
By the way, you've just reminded me. I was feeling totally undeserving, by the way, at that moment in time.
Yeah.
But you know what I do? Every morning I wake up, I do it again.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So for you, doing somebody's dream.
Whoa.
You're doing somebody's dream, and for you just doing. So let's go back to purpose and imposter syndrome. So in 2020, I had an opportunity to begin listening to podcasts and begin actually actively podcasting. I remember we had those conversations. Like, yo, start. And I was doing this on my phone, in my car, and it was really, really a situation. It was hard to do. But why it was hard to do is because I kept feeling, with my history, with what I've been through, what right do I have to say?
What I have done, what I have not done.
What right do I have to say?
Yeah.
I remember that story I told you when in 2007 I went. At that time I was 21 years old and I developed this leadership program for school prefects.
Yeah.
I went to a head teacher and he told me come back in 10 years.
That was the worst thing ever. That thing, when you told me that thing, it really broke my heart. Because we have someone who is in authority, leadership authority. And by the way, you believed him, hook, line and sinker.
Yeah.
You took his word.
He told me, it's a good idea. But you know what?
You're too young.
You're not qualified to say these things. So come back. After 10 years. And for those who don't know how the story ends, I went back 10 years later and the man was dead.
Ooh.
So I lost 10 years by listening to a man who was doing nothing.
You guy.
And that allowed that man to step on my dream. So back now to 2020. I listened to this podcast by Jay Shetty. Is it Jay Shetty?
Yeah, Jay Shetty does a podcast called On Purpose.
But then there's another Rob something. And he said something about imposter syndrome. Because I was feeling like an imposter. The network was bad. I didn't have the right phone. my podcasts were cutting. At that time, everyone was doing lives.
Yeah.
So in all that noise, who was the solution to say anything?
Yeah.
And this particular statement changed my life.
Yeah.
He said, you can either be on self or on purpose. You can't be
both.
On both. And if you are on purpose, it's about others. And you do not know which one person your authentic experience is going to impact.
That's what the feedback was coming from. The reference, the status I posted, which you referenced earlier on. I think it's Eve Zalwango, one of the guests, or actually on my podcast, who told me that maybe she called me or she posted it there.
People need to normalize. I keep saying this: normalize encouraging your encouragers.
Yeah. There's an article I actually wrote in my blog. I asked who encourages the encouragers.
TD Jakes, for his part, said, "Feed what feeds you."
Yeah.
Otherwise, one day you're going to come to the well that you don't take care of.
Yeah.
And there won't be water.
Yeah.
So now, this is how the imposter syndrome comes in. And sometimes it's for humility, and sometimes it's false humility, and sometimes just plain inferiority.
Yeah.
Right? Now, how do you know the difference? The difference is when it comes to the assignment of your life and what you need to do, you compare yourself to someone else as a reason to not do it. That is inferiority complex. I know I need to be speaking, I know I need to be podcasting, but man, look at Florence, it's already 1,000 podcasts. Look at Nabukozi, already 500 podcasts. Look at, these people are doing it. Who is listening to me? So recently, I I shared.
So there's the idea of comparison.
Yes. How otherwise, how is our inferiority does not exist unless there is comparison. You see. So one time I posted one of our
one of our episodes.
Our episodes. I'm laughing because you told me about your group where they said, Lawrence, don't post here again.
Yeah.
It's strange how people hate wisdom, but they choose folly. But that aside, so in this other group, I post this content, and this person is like, who gives you the right to talk about this?
Yeah, they asked you that question.
And I asked them, who else is talking about it? Did you acknowledge that it needs to be talked about? Yes. Who else is talking about men? Are men listening? So it's another thing. So now we came to a place where this person said, but you know, for all your content, which is good, Solujama's content is rich. It is competing with the noise and the named names, Full Figure, and all these people who just are trashing the airwaves and polluting it with negativity. And in my mind, I was like, if we don't do this, then the frequencies will only have trash. And you know our philosophy, we do not criticize what we can't improve. If we can do something about it, we're not just going to sit on the sidelines and fold our hands and talk. We are going to go about and do something. But this is what the purpose is. I mean, it's what the point is. The point is purpose.
Yeah.
Because for as long as we are on purpose, the purpose is never about us. The purpose is always others. You get? So God equips us with a certain gifting. God leads us through a certain experience, which all comes together for the serving of other people. I think I've mentioned it here before, that Moses grew up in a palace and then went to lead sheep in a desert, so that one day he could go back to the palace to talk to a pharaoh whom he had grown up with, to let the people go whom he would lead in a desert like sheep he had led before. Yeah, it comes together, purpose. But now when we talk about purpose, you as a purpose coach, you know that this is one thing that many people struggle to come to. My personal experience in 2020 is I asked myself this question: why should heaven wait? Why should heaven wait for you? I know you're not scared of death, but why should heaven wait for you?
Wait for me as in to receive me or something?
Yes, why should heaven give you time? That is a purpose question. Do you get it? And once I asked myself that question, I came to an answer, and my answer was teaching. That if I don't teach, my life is wasted. So I had to come back and painfully cut out of my life work that I was passionate about, but maybe was not on purpose.
Yeah, it doesn't. You can do it here. You can do it even well, and you can do it excellently.
I'm a great cook,
but it doesn't. It's not connecting.
I don't think I was born to cook,
unless you use the cooking to teach.
Exactly. So that's what I've done. So everything that I do in my life comes down to teaching. Be it education, be it cooking, be it design, everything comes down to cooking. I mean, to teaching. So when I discovered that, yes, I was born to teach. My boss one time, God bless him, Caleb Owino from Fireworks, he told me, you know, you are born to advise. And this was my boss telling me this. I was born to advise. And I found that very telling, but also strange feedback. Because I was, just 27. But with a bit of hindsight and experience, I've accepted that is my purpose. It's in tandem with teaching. Now, when I think about what my purpose is about and how it manifests, this is now where we're coming to the gist of this conversation. I have said do not